Hello, it is I once again, Jordan, aka Defcos, One Piece fanboy extraordinaire. Um, I am here today with another One Piece reread review. Today we are doing volume 14 of One Piece. I'm really mad because this volume I don't know what happened. I've had it for several years now. And at some point, apparently, I must have gotten it wet because it's all like fucked up. Like it feels like it got wet and then it dried. And that bothers me a lot. But I don't even remember what happened to it. But anyway. So today's Wednesday. Um, So that means we're gonna get a new One Piece chapter either tomorrow or Friday. Hopefully tomorrow night we will get a new chapter like last time. In which case I will do another chapter reaction video, and I'll try to make it a little bit better this time. I'll try to pay more attention because last time I read it, but a lot of times when I read a chapter of One Piece, I miss some stuff. Like I don't I need to like reread it and like just check it out again a couple times to really grasp everything that's happening in the chapter and to really understand everything that's happening. And in my initial reaction, I feel like I may have not completely grasped the entire chapter. So I'll try to pay a little bit more attention next time, and I'll try to do a better reaction video, and I'll try to maybe talk about it a little bit more in depth. We'll see how it happens, but that's the plan at least. But anyway, that's tomorrow or the day after. Today we are doing One Piece Volume 14. Um, so let's go ahead and begin. So I'll read the foreword as usual. Here we go. So Ichiro Oda. By the way, I've seen a ninja. It's true. I was in third grade. We were living in Miyazaki, where my dad had been transferred for his job, and a ninja came to our school. All the classes suddenly stopped, and the whole school gathered for an assembly. After the principal introduced him, the ninja said, "I've come to demonstrate the art of ninjutsu today." The ninja shouted, "Ka!" and broke a big rock. We were all enormously impressed. Then the ninja called several of the older kids up to the stage and said, "You can go back now." We were all puzzled, but a moment later we understood. To be continued. Ichiro Oda 2000. Okay, so I guess we're doing episodic forwards now. All right. So volume 14 entitled Instinct. And I see why it's titled that because I just read the volume. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so we pick up where we left off with Dory getting up after having drank the bomb that was in the ale, and he thinks Luffy and Vivi are the ones who put the bomb there, so he's attacking them, and Luffy is fighting him. And Luffy is holding his own against Dory. And giants are pretty powerful. We've you know that has been shown multiple times throughout the story that giants are really strong. Um, so he hits him with the Gum Gum Rocket, and then he gets stomped on by him. Then we cut to Mr. 3, who was in his wax house, And then Mr. Five and Miss Valentine show up again. And it's interesting that they show up again. Well, I guess it's not that interesting, but I had just forgotten that they showed up again. For some reason, after I remember that they showed up at Whiskey Peak, but I forgot that they showed up after that. Once Zoro and Luffy defeated them in Whiskey Peak, I thought that was it for Mr. Five and Miss Valentine. But they actually play a big role in this volume, and I had forgotten that they were even in this volume. But they reveal that Dory and Bragi have a bounty on their head that they've had for 100 years, and that they're worth 100 million berries each, and that they're after that bounty. That's pretty much what they're after. Okay, so then the volcano erupts again, and Dory and Bragi are set to fight again, but Dory is injured because of the ale, the bomb ale. Oh yeah, I was looking at this. This is the chapter cover with Garp and Kobe. Um, and I wonder if I keep talking about the live action, forgive me. Um, but I'm really hyped for it. I really hope that it's good, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do. So I keep asking myself questions about it while I'm rereading the volumes. Um, and I wonder if they're gonna give Garp the dog helmet that he has. I don't think they will. For some reason, I feel like they're not gonna give him that. I mean, One Piece is pretty goofy and wacky, and I feel like you kind of need to maintain that. Like, you kind of need to keep that aspect of it in order for it to stay, like, feeling like One Piece. But, I don't know. I feel like they're not going to give him the dog helmet. But they might. We'll see. I mean, I hope they do. I personally hope they do. Okay, so I put a post-it note here. And I think it's because this Usopp talks about how he wants to be a brave warrior of the sea and he wants to be like the giants. Um, and he says something like, okay, he says, even if someday I lose everything and face death alone on a deserted isle, I'll die proud of the way I lived, and I'll say, I am Usopp, a brave warrior of the sea. And I know that there's a theory out there that Usopp is actually going to die, like, towards the end of the story. And this might be foreshadowing that. I hope Usopp doesn't die, but I mean, he's kind of talking about it here, and he says even before that, in the panel before that, he says, Nami says, I just heard you say you wanted to be a brave warrior. And then Usopp says, I was thinking out loud, I want to be a man who can be proud of the way he lives. Um, and I think that is Usopp's dream. But, I mean, it definitely is Usopp's dream. But I spoke about this in a previous video. I feel like Usopp's dream is it's kind of like it's something that he's already obtained. Maybe he hasn't realized it yet, but I feel like Usopp is a brave warrior of the sea, um, and I don't know. I feel like I mentioned this before. Maybe he thinks that in order to be a brave warrior, he needs, because Usopp is cowardly. We know this, like or at least he's cowardly for comedic effect. And maybe he wants to completely rid himself of that cowardice. In which case he's not there yet. But that's a big part of Usopp's personality, and he is brave when he needs to be brave. So I don't know. I feel like he kind of has obtained his dream already. Um, Oh yeah, and so here we get. So this was a little confusing actually, but apparently Dory picks up a mountain and puts it on Luffy. He just to like restrain him from interfering with anything. Um, but yeah, but apparently he moves a mountain and like places it on top of Luffy. Um, so yeah, so he does that in order to stop him from interfering with the battle between him and Bragi. Um, okay, so we cut back to Mr. Three. Then we cut to Zoro. Oh yeah, and apparently Mr. Three made decoys of Nami and Luffy in order to like draw them in, draw like the other Straw Hats in. Okay, so Dory and Bragi are fighting, and apparently, like I don't know, it seems they keep sabotaging Dory. Dory gets the ale bomb, and then Mister Three makes him slip with his wax. I don't know if you can see, but he makes him slip with his wax right here. And then when he slips, Bragi delivers the finishing blow. Oh yeah, and I put a okay, so I put a post-it note here. This is in between chapters, so it's the SBS. What? Let's see. Oh yeah, I put a post-it note here because in that picture in the last volume, in the forward, there was a picture of Oda and some friends of his, and apparently one of the friends was Hiroyuki Take, who is another manga artist who drew Shaman King. And when I was a little kid and I was living in France and I was reading One Piece, I was also reading Shaman King. And I mean, it makes sense that they know each other, but I mean, I guess I knew because I have read this before, but I definitely forgotten. But yeah, but apparently in that picture there was Oda and Take, Hiroyuki Take. And Shaman King, I don't know if you're familiar with Shaman King. I haven't read it all. I've only read like the beginning, really. I mean, I've only read like maybe like the first 13 or so volumes. I've probably read past that because I remember reading it online too. Um, but I was a pretty big fan of Shaman King back in the day. But I fell off with Shaman King, just like a lot of manga that I start and I don't finish. Um, but I remember back in the day really liking Shaman King and being a big fan. So it's kind of cool that he brings up in this SBS that he was friends with Hiroyuki Take, who is the author of Shaman King. Okay, yeah. So Bruggy delivers the finishing blow on Dory, and I don't remember what happens after this. Like even reading this chapter, I was like, damn, like I had forgotten a lot of this stuff. Um, I guess Dory didn't. I'm pretty sure he's not dead, but I wonder what's gonna happen with him in the next volume. Uh, because it seems like he kind of got owned here. Um, oh yeah, and then Mister Three captures Broggy and the wax. Luffy is still under the mountain. Mr. Five and Miss Valentine captured Karu. Oh yeah, I put a post-it note here. I just put a post-it note here just because apparently Vivi hides her peacock slashers in her like tits, in her like weird top that she has, the spiral top that she has, and she's literally pulling the slashes out of like where her nipples would be. And I had completely forgotten that. And I don't remember that happening at any other point. It may have, but I definitely don't remember. I had forgotten that for sure. Oh yeah, and here we get Usopp getting owned pretty hard. He gets hit by the napalm cannon from Mr. Five, and then he gets hit by the 10,000 kilo press from Miss Valentine. And I think this is another instance of Usopp enduring enduring substantial punishment. Like Usopp can get owned like no other character and still get up and like survive. Um, Despite just being a regular person and one of the weaker members of the crew. It's just part of his like character that he can just like endure getting completely destroyed. Damn. So yeah, so they're okay. So Bragi's still in the wax. Luffy's still under the mountain. They capture Vivi. The bad guys kind of like have them against the wall. Oh yeah, so I put a post-it note here because this is a big part of this volume. The extra special candelabra that Mister Three makes. So he captures Vivi, Zoro, and Nami, and then he somehow puts them on the candelabra. And something about them being on top of this monument here, like he puts them on top of it. Not at the top. It's more like at the base of it. Um, but you don't really see how they get to this position. One second they're on the ground, the other second they're here. But apparently something about being like standing on top of that turns them into wax gradually. Um, and they don't really explain like the physics or the science behind how that works. And that happens a lot in One Piece, and I've brought it up before, and I'll probably keep bringing it up. But there are instances where like things happen, and you're just like, what? Like, how does that make sense? Like, you really just have to roll with it. You really just have to be like, oh well, okay, it's One Piece, so I guess that's what's gonna happen now. Um, but apparently, I guess it's because they're like standing in it, so like it's like well, I know. I think the thing turning makes the wax mist, and then they inhale the mist, and it turns them into wax. I think that's what's happening, if I remember correctly from what I just read. Um, yeah, I think that's what happened. Anyway, it's a little confusing how exactly that turns them into wax, and why he needed to make that big monument to do that. Oh yeah, so Bragi is like trying to like is explaining. Well, not really explaining, but like he's yelling at Mister Three like you could never understand like a brave warrior of Albath and stuff like that. Um, and then I think Karu actually digs a hole around Luffy while he's under the mountain. He's like on the ground under the mountain, and Karu like pecks around him in order to like free him and Usopp because Usopp's in the ground too. Okay, I put a post note here. This is another SBS. Um, let's see. Oh, I think it's just because he talks about Fishman Island. He talks about Fishman Island. So one of the readers says, "Where can I learn Fishman karate? Please tell me." And then Oda says, "On Fishman Island, it's about halfway along the Grand Line, and it's the first arc after the time skip." and then it says it'll come up eventually, so just relax and wait. And this was like literally like a decade before. So he was literally telling him to wait for 10 years. Yo, that's crazy. Okay, so he puts the swords in Dory's, I mean not Dory, Bragi's hands and feet while he's laying on the ground. Oh yeah, this kind of reminded me, this drawing here, and there are a few drawings like it, but this drawing here reminded me of in the recent chapters when Chopper and all the people in the on the live floor of Onigashima, how they were becoming ice onis. That's what this reminded me of. It kind of looks the same, except here it's the wax. It's not ice, but it kind of looks the same. How they're like slowly becoming like ice onis. Uh, so yeah. Oh yeah, and here I put a post note here just because this is a cool Zoro moment. How he states, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm becoming a wax statue right now, but like I'll just cut off my legs and I'll fight. I'll fight without legs." Uh, I like that moment a lot. That's a pretty classic moment. I remembered that. I forgot a lot of things about this volume, but I remembered that part for sure. Oh yeah, so he actually starts to like hack his legs, and then Usopp and Luffy show up. This is a cool page. This page right here. Luffy, Usopp, and Karu show up to like save everybody. Yeah, I was kind of confused by that candelabra thing the whole time I was reading it. Maybe I just didn't pay attention, but I don't know. I didn't really understand how they were becoming wax. I'm pretty sure it's the mist that they're inhaling. But then Zoro was like, "Oh, I'll cut off my legs." I guess his legs are stuck in the wax too. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah, so he actually breaks the what's it called? The pillar that holds up the pumpkin part of the candelabra. But it actually doesn't save them. Just breaking the pillar isn't enough. Oh yeah, I put a post-it note here because it's interesting in the new chapter when Luffy goes Gear Fifth and he starts acting like a Looney Tunes character, like a cartoon character. There's a moment that is kind of reminiscent of Looney Tunes right here. Usopp fires a gunpowder star at Mr. Three, and then Mr. Five just eats it right here. He just chomps down on it and then swallows it, and then his stomach blows up. And I was looking at that, I was just like, damn, that is just like a Looney Tunes cartoon, like straight up, like that is the same thing. And it's funny, like I guess One Piece has always been like a Looney Tunes cartoon, kinda. Like it's always been like really wacky and goofy. Um, and that's what those cartoons are, wacky and goofy. So I guess Luffy, when he goes Gear Fifth and he acts even more wacky and goofy, it's not like that big of a stretch. No pun intended. Um, but yeah, it's funny. Like it's always kind of been that way. Um, okay, so he keeps trying to break the candelabra while he's fighting with Mister Three. Oh, and then we get Miss Golden Week, and I like Miss Golden Week. I'm a pretty big fan of hers. I think she has a cool design, and I think her powers are cool. Oh yeah, I put a post-it note here just because in this particular drawing of Sanji right here, like Sanji, I remember reading in an interview that Oda did. I forget where, it was somewhere online. Um, but he said that one of the inspirations for Sanji was Mr. Pink from Reservoir Dogs. Um, and Reservoir Dogs is a great movie. I'm a big fan of Tarantino. But I feel like, for some reason, this particular drawing of Sanji, he looks more like Mr. Pink than any other like drawing of his. I don't know what it is. Something about like his body language, like the way he's standing, and the way his vest is open like that. I feel like he looks a lot like Mr. Pink in that particular drawing. Oh yeah, so we get Miss Golden Week's powers, and it's interesting because apparently Miss Golden Week isn't a devil fruit user. She just has this weird ability that we don't really know how she has it or why it works the way it works, but apparently it's not a devil fruit. She just has the power to like use her paint. She has like a palette and a brush and paint, and when she applies the paint to like Luffy's shirt or the ground, uh, it affects the way Luffy acts. Um, and apparently that's not a devil fruit, which is interesting. I think she might be the only character in all of One Piece that has a power that isn't devil fruit. That isn't a devil fruit. It's just a power that she has. Um, So that's pretty interesting, and I wonder what the logic behind that is, if there is any logic behind it. Um, yeah, Miss Golden Week is pretty cool. I think she's a pretty cool character. I think that's why I put this post-it note here to talk about what I just talked about. This is where she puts the laughter, the yellow on Luffy, and it makes him laugh instead of like, doing what he needs to do. Um, he puts the green. She puts the red on him. Oh, and then they become actual wax figures. Like it seems like they're completely made out of wax at this point, right here. And Usopp hits Luffy with the fire star to burn off his shirt so that the effects of the paint don't affect him anymore. Oh, and then we get Sanji. And then reading this is funny. I had forgotten about Sanji until he showed up again. He shows up right here. And this is the first time we've seen him like for the entire volume. That's the first time we see Sanji. And it's like, damn Sanji. Like we could have used your help probably, bro. Like he was just like off like doing whatever. Like I guess he was still doing the hunt that he challenged Zoro to. But then he runs across the wax house, Mr. Three's wax house. He comes across it. Then we cut back to the main battle. Oh yeah, and here we get Luffy fighting the big I forget what they call it, Mr. Three when he's in his like mech suit, his wax mech, Candle Champion. But so Luffy fights Mr. Three, and then Miss Valentine just sits on Usopp and starts increasing her weight. And then Usopp takes the fire that's on Mr. Three's head and ignites the rope. Usopp put a rope on Karu, and Karu ran all over the place. And then he ran all over the candelabra. And then Luffy just ignites it. to like burn it since it's wax. And then that melts it. And then Vivi and Nami and Zoro are freed. Oh yeah, and then I put a post-it note here just because I like this panel. I like this panel here when Vivi and Nami come back from being wax figures. And then in the very next page, Usopp fires another. He says it's an exploding star, and then Mr. Five eats it again, and he's like, "Oh yeah, like I'll just eat it again, no big deal." But then Usopp is like, "Nope, that was a deluxe pepper sauce star." And then he like lights his mouth on fire, and then Zoro hits him with the flaming onigiri, which is pretty awesome. His swords are on fire because of the fire that was burning the candelabra, and he just slices Mr. Five. So I guess Mr. Five and Miss Valentine are down for the count at this point. I don't know. I don't know if he could survive an onigiri. We'll see what happens next volume. I really don't remember, which is again, I keep saying it, but that's why I'm doing this because I really want to refresh my memory. I'd completely forgotten about all of this. So yes, everybody's free. They defeat Mr. Five and Miss Valentine, and I guess Mr. Three too, or maybe not Mr. Three yet. Oh yeah, not Mr. Three yet. Mr. Three goes into the forest and makes all those clones of himself, and then he's like, oh, he's talking to Luffy. He's like, which one is the real one? He makes all these clones, and then Luffy finds him. He just Gomu Gomu no stamps him right in the face, and then Mr. Three's like, how did you know it was me? And he's like, instinct. And that's the title of the volume. And it's like one of the last things that happens in the volume. And then we cut back to Sanji, and he's at the wax house, and for some reason he's chilling, sipping tea. But then the phone rings, and it's fucking Crocodile giving him a call. And that is it for volume 14. So yeah, so that was fun as always. I will do volume. So yeah, I'll do the chapter. I hope it drops tomorrow night, like it did last week. It dropped on Thursday night. So I really hope that that the next chapter drops tomorrow, and I'll do another review, or not a review, but a reaction. I guess a review too. I'll try to review it somewhat. And then on Sunday, I will do volume 15 of One Piece. I'll do another video for that. So yeah, if you indeed watched me talk about One Piece for over a half an hour, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Feel free to leave a comment. I would love to interact with some other fans. I've tried to post this video in places where I thought that maybe people would respond. No luck such so far, but I really would like to have a conversation with some other One Piece fans. I have a good friend of mine that I talk about One Piece with, my friend Pharaoh. In case you're watching, Pharaoh, what up? So I talk about One Piece with Pharaoh, but I would like to talk about One Piece with a variety of people if possible. If you're watching this by happenstance, even if it's like a year from today, please leave a comment and we can talk about One Piece. So I will go ahead and post this now. I will see you in the very near future. Have a good one.